Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching NDTV. We have seen 2 days of intense deliberations over the Waqf Amendment Bill. It was passed by the Lok Sabha well after midnight on Wednesday, and today a replay of that is expected in the Rajya Sabha. But in this show today, in the course of the next 20 minutes, we talk about the future. Well, laws get made, but do they make the impact that they are made for? What will it take for the Waqf Act to be the measure of reform that it is being seen as? There needs to be awareness, trust and confidence building, but more than that, the sheer logistics of it. We're talking about over 8 lakh immovable Waqf properties. It's one of the largest repositories of religious and community-owned land globally. So what are the big challenges in the implementation of the Waqf law? And remember, the key here is implementation. The mandated digitization, audits, dispute resolution, the problem of encroachments, inclusive councils and boards. Will there be speedier disposal of cases? How will state Waqf boards work in tandem with central Waqf councils? As the law will not have a retrospective impact, will there be a cleanup of the backlog of cases? That is what we will discuss. But before that, here's a glimpse of the Rajya Sabha debate that took place today.
ट्रांसपेरेंसी को, अकाउंटेबिलिटी को, एफिशिएंसी को, ये 3 बड़ा पैमाना है। ये हमारा पूरा एक्सरसाइज जो है इस पे केंद्रित होता है। कई बार लोगों ने हमारा खिलाफ, इस बिल का खिलाफ, इस प्रस्तावना के खिलाफ में लोगों ने कहना शुरू किया है, तो मैं आज जरूर इसका जवाब देना चाहता हूं कि हम किसी का धार्मिक भावना को चोट पहुंचाने के लिए नहीं है।
इनको 2024 में इनको याद आ गया वक्फ बोर्ड ड्रैकोनियन लॉ है, कम्युनिटी को अपील कर रहे हैं। 2024 में याद आया। क्यों 2024 में याद आया? 10 साल क्यों आपको याद नहीं आया? 2024 में इसलिए याद आया क्योंकि 400 का नारा इनको दिए थे, 240 में निपट गए थे। इनको अब समझ में नहीं आ रहा कैसे अपना वोट बैंक बढ़ाएं। इस एक्ट को लेके आके कम्युनल पोलराइजेशन करने का काम कर रहे हैं।
हम लिप सर्विस नहीं करते हैं, हम रियल सर्विस करते हैं। वी डू द रियल सर्विस। 50 years later, 100 years later, we will not be there. But the course of action which we take today, that is going to make India stronger, that we have to understand. और आपने 70 साल का एक्सपेरिमेंट करके देख लिया। 70 साल का एक्सपेरिमेंट आपने करके देख लिया, बांट करके देख लिया, वोट के पीछे पढ़ के देख लिया। 2013 का अमेंडमेंट ला करके भी 2014 में वहां बैठने के लिए मजबूर हो गए।
They say that it is only administration purpose. No, it is not so. It is not reform. It is to control and to take over the administration of a certain community. Since it is anti-secular and ultra-virus of the Constitution, the solution is 5 kilometers away. The Supreme Court is there to strike down, if at all it is legislated or passed. It will. We are very certain about it. The government says often, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. But they have a different policy for Muslims. Exclusion, marginalization, and dispossession.
Okay, joining us now is Zeenat Shaukat Ali. She's a Muslim scholar. Thank you, Zeenat, for joining us on this broadcast. Well, the important question here is, despite digitizing 3 lakh records to improve transparency in the past, the Waqf board continues to face governance issues. And I understand that the legal disputes, the mismanagement that one talks about is also the sheer logistics of it, 8 lakh properties. And a key challenge here is also the irreversible nature of Waqf properties, which also probably leads to prolonged legal battles. Now, with this new bill and also probably, the law in place in the next few days, how do you expect all of this to be addressed?
Well, it will require a lot of administrative skill. It will require formations of boards with educated, concerned citizens, Muslims, basically, and to oversee the matter and to see to it that this entire what shall we say, I can't say a black hole, but what we have made, this entire corruption that has crept into a system which was created for purposes of charity and an endowment to help the poor, to help education, to help the sick, which has not been used and in its proper manner, how we are going to be able to administer, So it has to be a very well thought of and extremely, well planned format has to be laid down for each state. I do not think that the state, the central powers, all the powers should lie with the center. No, they can give an outline as to how the states can function, and based on that outline, what is the percentage you will give to education? Because I think that is one of the priorities of the Muslim. I'm sad to say that when I've been looking at education, I've seen that the funds for education have been depleted. There have been many, like Maulana Azad Fund, and I've got a dozen names, where they have the funds have been reduced over the years. I don't know for what reason, but they have. But now those have to come back. Those funds have to be concentrated into education, so that so that percentage of education for health, for poverty upliftment, for widows, for maintenance of mosques and eidgahs and qabristans. Also, it has to be divided. So, in what percentages, and how you can multiply that money, how you can invest it correctly, and how you can be transparent.
Right.
Because every institution has, registration. It has a chartered accountancy. It has to submit its whatever financial status at the end of a financial year. It has to be done systematically, and for that you need to have a proper board formulated and a proper people, not with high-flying egos, but with with the power of dedication to work.
Okay.
And dedication to uplift.
I'll just come back to you because you've raised a very important point. Mahima Singh of the Congress Party also joins us. Mahima, we saw your party fiercely oppose the bill, saying that it is unconstitutional. Now, the bill talks about ending arbitrary property claims, and that's what I was asking Zeenat ma'am also. She's put forward some very important points. Now, Section 40, which allows Waqf boards to unilaterally declare any property as Waqf, has been removed. Now, throughout the discussion, we also saw several properties, private properties being named, somewhere in Haryana, or temples in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, 400 acres inhabited by Christian and Hindu families in Munambam. All of these, are being seen as unlawfully declared as Waqf properties under Section 40. Now, with this new bill, these land will be free for rightful owners. Do you see this as one measure that you can welcome?
Jai Hind. Vasudha, I was listening to the Islamic scholar very carefully, and I do regard her resource that she embodies. But I would, I would raise this point here that has been raised by many honorable members of parliament yesterday and today on both in both the houses. That you see, the BJP's shifting stance is the first objectionable point here. From 1995 till today, the BJP has been shifting stances. 1995, their own honorable members of parliament had supported this bill, voted in favor of the bill. 2014, the Bharatiya Janata Party's manifesto said that they will be, fighting against, they will be bringing laws against those who are encroaching upon the Waqf lands. Now, 10 years later, 11 years later, today what we are seeing is propaganda, is fear-mongering amongst the masses of this country, and I would rather say appeasement of the majority. Because you see, what our honorable members of parliament have also said today, Vasudha, is that the BJP is building this propaganda because its intention was to get 400 plus, 400 पार करके संविधान बदलना था. Rather, they are at a juncture where they have run short of issues, and they have run short of all the accusations of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru also. Okay. So you see, at erstwhile governments. So here we are where, this committee was formed, this JPC was formed. In the JPC, initially there was a constant opposition, as our MP in Rajya Sabha, Syed Nasir Hussain ji, has indicated towards. Initially, there was major opposition from all the members. members.
Okay.
Then for the first time in the history, non-stakeholders were brought into this committee. And that's how this bill was bulldozed, by undermining the discussion, the clause by clause discussion, which has been constantly demanded. And now today it is being debated. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope that this bulldozing of democracy, this bulldozing of the minority rights, this undermining of the constitutional provisions will not
Okay.
succeed. And I
Pradeep
hope
Bhandari, you heard the Congress spokesperson out, and clearly the Congress has a lot of reservations, starting with the working of the JPC community. But I wanted to ask you, how are you looking at taking this bill and also a law in the next few days from reform to perform, because we are talking about 8 lakh immovable properties here. Tribunal decisions can only be appealed by way of petitions and not civil suits, which of course allow petitioners greater rights. There are around 58,000 properties that have been taken over unlawfully. How do you see all of this being addressed by this law?
Well, Vasudha, the intention of this law is that it wants to implement the constitutional supremacy. It is extremely hypocritical of the Congress party that the basic structure of the Indian constitution is right to justice and right to appeal. And the Congress party prevented a Hindu, Muslim, Christian that's right because the tribunal decision in the case of the Congress party was final. We are essentially challenging that, and we are implementing, in fact, changing it and implementing Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar's constitution. This is not a retrospective bill, so only the disputes which lie in the court, the civil court will take the final call, and the government disputed properties is what the final is the ones which will be discussed in the court, and after the civil court takes the final call, the appropriate action will be taken. But she was speaking about 1995. Let me quote Sitaram Kesari, the welfare minister of the Congress party, from the debate of the parliament in 1995, and I quote Mr. Sitaram Kesari. And Mr. Sitaram Kesari says that as all the honorable members are aware that the financial position of the Waqf board is extremely weak, it has become an institution where corruption has happened and non-transparent working has become a norm. It is not able to disburse salary to their employees. When the Bharatiya Janata Party is implementing it, the Congress party forgets Sitaram Kesari, probably because it does not come from the first family. She was talking about 1995. Let me quote 1995 Rajya Sabha MP and the alliance member of the Congress party, Sayyid Masadul Hussain, who in fact went to the extent and said that even non-Muslims should be made the mutawallis. But they will not do it because they did not stand with Shah Bano. How can you expect the Congress party to now stand with reform? Now, I have also the copy of the Sachar committee in front of me.
Okay,
the Sachar committee
before you go to
made
Sachar committee, let me get in a response from Mahima. Mahima, would you like to respond to that?
Very much, very much. You see, look at the plight of the Bharatiya Janata Party today, Vasudha. They're having to lean on the arguments made by our members and our allies. They cannot talk about what Murli Manohar Joshi ji said or LK Advani ji said or Sushma Swaraj ji said because they stood in support of it. They will not talk about the manifesto of their own party in 2014, wherein it is clearly written that they will protect minority rights and they will, of course they were lying, and that has become amply clear today. But in their manifesto, it is mentioned that they will, legislate to oppose the encroachments, illegal encroachments on Waqf lands. Today, what they are fighting is the very provisions of Waqf, are the provisions given guaranteed under Articles 14, 15, 25, 26 and 30. Today what they are fighting is the Indian judiciary, because the Indian judiciary has guaranteed Waqf by user clause, Waqf by user provision, and the Bharatiya Janata Party has trampled it. And that is what they have always wanted to do. You see, they are fulfilling their bucket list ambitions. This is just the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg, Vasudha. I would reiterate what I've been saying on all your debates. This is the tip of the iceberg. And I wish to remind you and the viewers of Martin Niemöller's words. First they came for socialists, then they came for trade unionists, then they came for Jews, and then they came for me, and then there was nobody to speak.
Okay.
So this is the
Waqf by user, that whole provision has become, too contentious, because while the ruling party has been saying that there will be nothing, this law will not be applied retrospectively, opposition members are saying that with concessions, specifically to government-owned properties, or for that matter, the ones that are facing disputes, this is hardly something that would provide relief to Muslim communities. How would you reassure them that their properties are safe, especially if they don't have documents?
Well, Vasudha, the Congress party yet again is standing with the builder lobby, like the Congress party did not stand with Shahbano. The Congress party is not standing with the poor Muslims and Christians. Unfortunately, in any debate with the Congress party, they do not come and read. She has not read the bill, and again she is misquoting the Supreme Court. Yes, we are obviously removing the encroachment from the Waqf property. This is why out of 9 lakh acres, roughly 1,40,000 acres is agricultural farmland, which is still being encroached by Waqf. 1,06,000 acres is shops, 89,000 acres is houses, 3,861 acres is pond, 2,042 acres is schools. Because of the Congress party backing the builder mafia, all of this is now coming under Waqf. The Congress party did not do anything for the welfare of the poor Muslims, and this is what is written in the Sanction Committee. Just shaking your hand will not mean anything. She even misquoted the Supreme Court of India. And let me quote Sayyid Fazal Pukia Thangal versus Union of India, where the Kerala High Court had used the Supreme Court precedent. The Waqf is a conglomeration of individuals. It is a statutory body. It is pure and simple. It is not a religious body. And the Congress party has its member of parliament, Priyanka Vadra, coming from Kerala.
Okay.
Priyanka Vadra coming from Kerala. And you do not see the
Okay, we will just come to that individual cases, Pradeep, in just a bit. Let me get a comment from the expert here.
Vasudha, brief response. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
This is unfair. You have the Congress party interrupting.
5 seconds.
Mahima, just let him finish. I'm coming to you. Okay, Mahima, you wanted to respond before I go to Zina.
I'll just make my point in 5 seconds.
Okay, quickly.
I will make my
I have to
point.
go to Zina, ma'am. She's been waiting.
I will make my point in
Mahima,
5
please.
Rahul Gandhi comes as a member. I will not let you speak, Mahima. You wait and watch in the debate because you are interrupting me for the third consecutive time. Where Rahul Gandhi comes as a member of parliament, used to come as a member of parliament from Kerala. Priyanka Vadra comes as a member of parliament from Kerala. Christian community, whether it is in Ernakulam or other districts, has openly been the biggest community, which is at the visible.
Okay, that's a very valid point, Mahima. Would you like to answer that? The Bishops' Council of Kerala, wholeheartedly supporting this bill, is a warning for you, isn't it?
This is the same whataboutery that the Bharatiya Janata Party did when farm laws were being brought by
Okay, Pradeep, let her respond now.
Okay,
can we just have Mahima now, please?
The whataboutery went on even at the time of farm laws.
Can we just have
What happened
Mahima?
to the farm laws? Mr. Modi had to fold his hands and seek the countries and the farmers forgiveness because the same attitude of whataboutery was being adopted by the BJP. They went reading pages after pages on these shows, and then at the end, Mr. Modi had to bow down. And the same fate will be met by this bill because this whataboutery is not the answer to the critical
Okay,
question.
Pradeep, before I come back to
Our
you.
democracy today.
Yes, Zina,
So how is speaking for the Christian committee whataboutery? Can you please tell me? Just random English words does not mean anything. You are making absolute
Okay, can we have
baseless
Pradeep,
sense like
please?
your leader Rahul Gandhi who makes jalebi from factory. Tell me how is speaking about the deprived Christian
So what
community
about is not the answer?
Christians not minority, Rahima.
What about is not the answer? Why did you bring nonsense figures in the
Okay, let me go to the expert here. Zina, on the problem of encroachments and litigation, because the government is also saying that the law will not be applied retrospectively, but the opposition says that the exemption to government properties and disputed ones at concession is not enough. Do you see any faster movement of cases, dispute resolution happening because of this law?
You see, before I answer your question, may I make a submission to you?
Yes, please.
You see, the entire debate that has taken place, I would like to say that this bill goes beyond religious lines and it raises the crucial question whether India is a secular state and should hold all religious endowments, not only the Waqf, to the same standards of governance and transparency. And yes, the Waqf bill is opening the way, it is paving the way for reform in the Waqf system. The government should also open up greater responsibility to all religious endowments across to ensure that the intended charitable charity that is being given is being used. So what I'm saying is that, like we have in our country, and I'm quite surprised that we are not moving towards that end, that we should have a uniform law for all religious endowments, because this is not only the Waqf. The Waqf belongs to only one section of Indians, but there are the Parsis, there are the Jains, there are the Sikhs, there are the Hindus, there are etc., etc. All of them have religious endowments. And so why should we not have a uniform law like a uniform civil code one country, one law, by which certain standards are maintained.
That's a very important point. Let me ask the BJP spokesperson here. Pradeep Bhandari, can we have him? Pradeep, how do you see the suggestion that there needs to be a uniform law for all endowments? I know that, Hindu temples also face oversight from the Indian government. There are bodies like SGPC and, of course, the trust model there. But the fact that this criticism that Muslims are being singled out, how do you see this?
This is what I see.
Ma'am, I'll come back to you. Let Pradeep answer this. Yeah, Pradeep.
Is that for me? That
No,
question?
Pradeep Bhandari. Yeah.
Is that question for me?
Vasudha, first of all, Waqf board is not a religious board. It is a statutory board. The Supreme Court in each of its judgment has said that. Waqf primarily is a donation or is a charity.
Endowment. You cannot deny that it is a religious endowment. The people have given it.
No, ma'am, it is not. Can you please quote me a No, ma'am, you are factually wrong. Waqf board is not a religious body. If you want, I can quote the Supreme Court of India for you. The Waqf primarily is a charity which is given. Let me quote the Supreme Court of India. You cannot be from the best. Tell me one judgment. The Supreme Court of India, and I quote the Supreme Court here. The Supreme Court says that Waqf board is not a conglomeration of individuals. The Waqf board is a statutory board, pure and simple. It is not a representative body of the Muslim community. Quote unquote, the Supreme Court of India. So just to say that the Waqf board belongs only to the Muslim community is wrong. Yes, it is involved with management and administration of properties. This is where the experts and non-Muslims are also involved with. Waqf is a donation which is given for charitable purpose related to Islam. So do not confuse the two. We are not at all going towards the Waqf. We are only focused on Waqf administration, making it more transparent. This is why it is not retrospective. This bill is not being brought into any other retrospective manner. The only change which is happening, Vasudha, is that we are giving a right to appeal to a Hindu, Muslim, Christian or any individual on whom the Waqf board claim as a Waqf property to go to a civil court, revenue court or high court, not primarily only to the Waqf tribunal. That is the essential change which we are making, which is a fundamental pillar, which is the right to appeal which the Constitution provides.
Okay. Zeenat ma'am, Zeenat ma'am, yes.
You see, you cannot isolate a community. Understandably, that the administrative part of it has to be dealt with experts, and understandably that other people should be incorporated who are experts. But that should be cutting across all endowments which are religious, whether you like it, whatever you may call it, or whatever you may define it as. They are religious endowments for temples, for example, for gurudwaras, for the purposes of Jainism, for Buddhism, for whatever purpose. But what I'm saying is, why have we singled out? Why can we not have one common law which cuts across the country for all institutions alike? Like we are talking about a uniform civil code, one country, one law. So why can't we have one country, one law for all endowments? Okay. You see, by singling communities out, and yes, the Waqf board can pave the way. Okay. I believe in reform, and I do not believe in running away from any kind of situation. Okay. So you open the road to reform, but when you're opening the road to reform, you do not isolate a community, sir. Okay. We are all Indians here.
That's a valid suggestion. Mahima Singh, coming back to
every temple.
I'll come back to you. Mahima has been waiting for long. Mahima, coming back to Pradeep's question that, Kerala Bishops Council giving its support to this bill, and also several bodies in Kerala from where, Rahul Gandhi has been an MP from, Priyanka Gandhi represents that state. Do you feel that there needs to be far more outreach or understanding of the Waqf bill when it comes to the Congress party? Because one state where the UDF did extremely well in 2024, also in 2019, the Christians bodies, the Christian churches are feeling very differently there.
Well, Vasudha, firstly, you see the BJP spokesperson was also in his whataboutery talking about retrospective application of the bill. Let me just say that the Bharatiya Janata Party, the spineless Bharatiya Janata Party and bulldozer justice party, as I like to say, is on its knees. This party is on its knees today. It is on its knees before the democracy, the mighty democracy. It is on its knees today before its own allies. And it is allies are the ones that have compelled the BJP to impose this, to bring the bill, not retrospectively, but prospectively. Now, when you're talking about the Kerala organizations that may have expressed support or may have spoken in favor of the amendments, I would say fringe is everywhere, Vasudha. It is the majority that you should take into account. Today, you see, there is worry, raising amounts of worry across religions, across communities, because the intent of the Bharatiya Janata Party is becoming increasingly clear that in their propaganda, in their pursuit of Hindu Rashtra, they will not, bow down to the democracy. And if they are given power, this is how they will bulldoze democracy. This is how they will sideline and dilute constitutional provisions which they wanted to achieve by
the last word from you. Your closing remarks.
I am extremely pained. I am extremely pained that the member of the Congress party has called the Christian community as fringe. This is an insult to the Christian community in Kerala. Shame on the Congress party for
Stop
not
this
being
whataboutery. Stop this whataboutery.
Mahima, would you like to clarify that?
The statement I have made, no, Vasudha, I will not allow this whataboutery, no. I said there is fringe in every community.
Let her clarify once and then I'll come back to you. Yes.
Do not stoop so low that you will not be able to see your own head. Shame on the Bharatiya Janata Party that disregards the constitution, that disregards the democracy, that bulldozes its propaganda over the democracy.
Okay, you've made your point, Mahima. Closing remarks from Pradeep. Pradeep, tell us finally when is this process of reform actually beginning? Because there are these multiple challenges here: authority changes, non-Muslim board members, property ownership disputes. When will we finally see reform happening?
Just a minute, Vasudha. Who wants?
I'll have to talk to Pradeep now because there's just 1 minute remaining. Pradeep, can we have Pradeep?
So that you will have the rules being formed. So the rules being formed, you will see this coming in action. But I'm extremely pained that the Congress party has called the Christian community as fringe. They will be taught a lesson by the poor Muslims, Christians, and everybody in this country who believes in the Constitution of India.
Okay. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Thank you, Mahima. Thank you, Zeenat. And thank you, Pradeep, for joining me on this broadcast. The Rajya Sabha is debating the Waqf Amendment Bill and is likely to be passed by the upper house of the parliament tonight. This bill seeks to ensure Waqf properties are protected and used as intended. While it's a significant legislative step aimed at addressing long-standing issues of mismanagement and corruption and also encroachment in Waqf properties, how much will it succeed in implementing these measures? Achieving the goals for which it has been drafted will be keenly watched. With that, it's a wrap from me. More news and updates on the other side.